Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
Be Sister Jenna will be speaking here at the Third World Parliament on Spirituality. Sister Dr. Jenna, actually, she's the founder and director of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museums and host of the America Meditating Radio. Now, Sister Jenna is an acclaimed, trusted spiritual mentor, committed to bridging divides in societies and building relationships between global influencers. She has impacted lives around the globe, inspiring change and finding solutions to current-day crises as the founder and director of two Brahma Kumaris meditation museums in the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area. Sister Jenna is also the host of the popular America Meditating radio show and the recipient of the Presidential Lifetime National Community Service Award. She is a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, a group of thought leaders from diverse disciplines in service to conscious evolution. At this time, I'd like to turn the call over to Sister Jenna to speak to us about mind over matter. So.
Thank you, Sean. Om Shanti, everyone. And thank you all for taking the time to join us for the summit. It is such an important time in our lives. I think each and every one of us are feeling a deep internal call to step more into what is truth versus what is an illusion. I'd like to ask everyone out there, because of Marbeth's sharing of her 7-minute experiment, if we could take 30 seconds to send our peaceful thoughts to the White House and to Washington, D.C., and to America. As you all know, we've just been elected a new president, and the one that's in now has been kind of, battling with how the transition is to take place. And so whenever I have an opportunity, I invite the world, please send your good wishes to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and to all the leaders of this older administration for a peaceful transition. One of the most effective ways of finding solutions to our day-to-day lives is to be able to have a moment of silence or stillness, to be able to step inside of the soul and connect to what is eternal, immortal, imperishable. When I was 17 years old, my parents got involved with the Brahma Kumaris. My mother at the time had been through a lot. She was orphaned at 7. So as a result, I was raised by a mother who seemed to have been through many, many test papers and challenges that I would never be able to understand how she was able to survive them. But after about 6 months of their practice in the Brahma Kumaris, something changed in her behavior. She wasn't as angry anymore. She had become very, very peaceful. But I could see it in her behavior, and I could see it in her energy. Something had changed in her mind. When I saw that at 17, it had inspired me, but for me, there was no way I was going to do anything spiritual. I didn't believe I was born for that kind of a path. And I went on to entrepreneurship. I had purchased 2 nightclubs. They were very successful, had very luxurious cars in my driveway, had a beautiful condominium overlooking the Atlantic. But by the time I was about 24, and do know prior to that I was with all the yogis and doing whatever seva or service I could, my mind was focused on my 5 senses and what my 5 senses could materialize in what the world goes, a life of success, whether it was fancy cars, name brand clothes, good looks, beautiful place, money, status. And everything about my internal world was defined by the way my five senses had created life for me. And that was just what I was used to. But I would remember those times when I would spend moments with the yogis, with Dadi Janki, who passed away this year at 104. She was the spiritual mentor of the Brahma Kumaris. Dadi Prakashmani, another hero of mine that I grew with and learned a lot over the years. Sister Jenti, Sister Mohini. These are a few of the women, and of course my mother and Sister Wadi. They were women that I would turn to, and I would always see there was a serenity over them. There was a peace over them. And at that time, 17, 18, 19, 20, I was just party. I was in peace. I was like, come on and let's shake it up and turn it all around. But as I was traveling in a country, I had a very deep epiphany and an awakening. And there was a very profound entry of the consciousness of God's peace and God's purity and the vibration of God's love. It's almost as if it had just access. It broke the shell, and it accessed my inner world, the mind, the soul, the intellect, the sanskaras. It broke everything inside of the soul. And whatever blossomed and opened from there is a result of what I am today. And what I mean by that is something changed in the way that I saw myself, in the way that I interpreted God, in the way that I saw humanity, and in the way that I had understood what success was and what life was and what the purpose of life really was. I was able to recognize how in my mind there were definitely the energy of algae. It's an acronym that I use quite frequently. It represents anger, lust, greed, attachment, and ego. And when that attachment in particular started to build in my persona, it would create desires. And when those desires would try to manifest itself through my five senses, and whether I gained it or lost it, or it was traumatizing, it created a lot of anger or rage or disappointment. And if you watch even your own journey, that when you go through these emotions and there's anger or disappointment or those kinds of emotions, your intelligence gets swayed, it gets clouded. You're not able to always be very clear, and sometimes making the simplest of decisions because of desire, but more than anything else, because the mind has now developed the vibration of attachment to its interpretation because of matter, because of the five senses. And when we start to make decisions based solely on five senses, and because we are angry that we've lost, or we didn't get, or we should have gotten, or it was traumatizing, it's very challenging to make wise decisions. The majority of the decisions will be based on, do I feed the five senses, or do I, continue just the way that I always have, trying to wait for a miracle to occur, when it just won't happen if I haven't really gone deep inside of the soul. So what I have learned over the years is the importance of actually recognizing that the world behind my eye is the world that we all are being invited to live from. Whenever I, witness the fact that there are people in power and there are people who have the capacity to be in power, that they're able to make such a positive difference, I ask myself countless of times, why don't they? Why don't leaders make decisions from their powerful and beautiful minds in which we can bring the world together? Do you know why? Because of algae. And when there's algae in our consciousness, there's selfishness. And when we're selfish, we become prisoners of a very tiny world. And we get to see that actually what the awakening that I feel is needed for our lives right now is to really renounce these attachments and to open up our hearts and our minds to a living, intimate, real experience of God. I don't mean a Jewish God, a Hindu God, a Muslim one, a Christian one. I mean the one that's just love and peace and truth and wisdom. We're at one of the most crucial times in our history. This might be the ultimate confluence of the cycle of time, where Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, the old world that feeds algae, is at a pivotal point in which each and every one of us will have to take the journey inwards and remove the energy, the experience, the thought form, the pattern, the habit, the normalcy of thinking and seeing ourselves and others from an algae consciousness, but instead to see ourselves and each other from the consciousness of being the pure soul that we are, from the consciousness of God's love and God's empowerment. So what if we were to let go of the attachments to name, gender, role, religion? How would we feel? Here's a short meditation which we would like to offer you as a gift to really sink you into an experience with yourself, with the divine, and with the embracing of humanity, asking and wanting nothing from it other than you being the contributor of it, giving your love, your peace, and your purity. Please enjoy it. Om Shanti. As I sit here in quiet reflection, I'm reminded how my thoughts create my reality. I've accepted that I am what I am because of what I think. So what if for this moment I choose to let go of my various attachments to physical forms that have limited my potential and my capacity? What if I chose to be free from limitations of thinking? So just for a little while, I invite you to take a deep breath. Inhale and exhale. And imagine for a moment, what if I no longer had an attachment to my name? How would that feel? What if I let go of the awareness of the gender? What if I let go of the roles that I play, the titles that I own? What if I decided to release thinking of myself as a religion, a language, a nationality? What if I choose to just let go of the name, gender, role, title, religion, language, nationality, and let go of the awareness of the body? how would I feel? Who would think of me in this awareness? And who would I think of? I would think of God. And God's remembrance would fall on me. And I, the living soul, would be completely free. Let me just sit in this moment for a little longer and just be free. Now gently bring back the awareness of your gender, language, nationality, title, role, name, religion, whatever. Bring it back to your awareness and see if you can bring the experience of freedom and peace as you go out into the world and play your various parts. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Om Shanti. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everyone, for having us on, and many, many blessings to each and everyone.